Ooh, that looks tasty.
Folks, today the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we're talking about Asking for Trobils, designed by Christian Strain and Aaron McDonald, and published by Breaking Games. Before I get started, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes in the rules overview, that is where you will find the corrections. Now, what this game is this is a game that takes place in the galaxy of Orange, and what's happening is the horrible Trobils, which I'll pull some out right there, have been kind of destroying the world, basically. And you are one of a variety of heroes that are kind of going out and about and doing your very best to save the galaxy or the universe from the Trobils, and to do that, you're going to have to capture them, and then the only way to dispose them is to throw them into the sun. And you're going to do that round and round until all the cities on the planet are free, happy cities, and those free, happy cities also double as in-game scoring conditions. And you're going to do that by placing out your ships onto these various spaces and collecting resources and turning resources into other things until you're able to capture said Trobils. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played, which I'll jump into my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's talk about how this game is played. And before I do that at all, I will say that there are also 2 expansions that you can get, which I have, but I'm not showing you here because I wanted to just kind of cover and show you the base game, though I do talk about these a bit in my final thoughts. And the first of the 2 expansions is called the Companions expansion. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a companion, and it's going to give you a set of rewards that you get. And the longer the companion travels around with you on your ship, the more annoying they become, but the better rewards you're able to get out of them. And eventually you'll drop them off on a planet, and you'll get their rewards, and then you can always go get a new companion. And it's important to note that that actually adds a new little kind of a 1/3 of the way around player board. And then there is the Trobil Makers, which adds Robo-Trobils, which will be popping out all over the board, and there are additional ways to score. There's a little bit more to it in both of them, but that is kind of the gist of it. But let's talk about the core of this game. So each player will have the ships that they start with, and the number of ships you start with varies based on player count, and this is not actually the correct setup for 2 players I have, but this is just to kind of give you an idea. And so you start with the ships that you have, but there will be more that you can kind of go into the time portal here to get more ships, more workers that you're going to be able to use. And what's going to happen is, on your turn, you're simply going to go to a space in traditional worker placement fashion. And around the outside, with the exception of over here, is where you're going to get kind of the core resources. So if you come over here, you're going to be able to get some ore. If you come over here, you'll be able to get some space crystals. If you come over here, you'll be able to get some lovely, delicious space carrots. If you come over here, you're going to be able to upgrade kind of your engine. And what I mean by that is, every player has one of these little boards. And when you go to that bottom spot, you'll be able to pay 2 credits, and you'll be able to take one of these things and kind of just attach it to a spot on the board. And what that's going to do is, when you go to these spots, in addition to whatever normally happens there, you'll also get that bonus. And it costs more and more to put more and more things on the same side, but you'll be upgrading your engine as you go. And as you can imagine, as you go through the game, you will be refilling this with new spots as you go. And I will say that there is a method where you will be able to clear them all out if they're all the same, but for the most part, you are just going to always have 3 of these available that you're able to purchase from. If you go over here, you'll get 2 credits, and you will draw one of these riffraff cards. Now, these riffraff cards can do various things. For example, this one here, it tells you to draw the pirate standee, and I'm not using the standees, so you can see a little bit better. But you draw a pirate standee, and you're going to hold on to the card, and you're going to be able to place this standee on any of these spots around the board that you want to. So perhaps I might put it right here. And what that means is, if another player, let's say this was me right here, comes to this spot, they're going to have to give that pirate a resource. And then eventually, when I come there, I'll be able to collect all the resources for myself, and then the pirate will go away. Now, so there's things like this, and then there's also things like this right here, which is a bounty hunter, in which case you'll be able to take out one of the standees on the board, and you'll get a reward. And about half of the deck is various standees that you can get out, and the other half are kind of instant effects that you're going to get. Right here, you're going to get traps, and you can pay credits to get even more traps. These are just basic traps. Right here, you're going to get space slugs, and you can turn in crystals to get even more space slugs. While over here, you're going to turn in traps and ore to get the coveted mega traps. And then right over here, you're going to spend ore and credits to bring another version of yourself from the timeline. So now you have 2 workers that you can place out onto the board. Now, the real core of this game comes with how do you get your workers back. And there's 2 ways you get your workers back. And there's 2 ways that you get your workers back. Either you can take your whole turn and just pull them back to you, or if somebody else goes to a position that you're on, say, goes right there, then they bump you and you come back to your board and you don't have to collect them again. Eventually, you're going to have the resources that you need to get a Trobil. And to do that, you'll go over to the planet, and there's 3 spots for it, and then you would turn in the resources needed to capture the Trobil. In this case, it would cost me 2 ore, 1 basic trap, and 3 space carrots, and then I would be able to capture this Trobil, and I would take the card to my board. And this is going to be worth 7 points at the end of the game, no matter what happens, but I can also earn 3 credits if I happen to fly myself right here to the sun, and then I can dump all the Trobils that I have in which case I would get the credits, flip all my Trobil cards over, and they would still count for points at the end of the game, but I would flip it over to show that I've collected its reward. And I'll slide these Trobils over so you can see a little bit better. But as you're going through, and towards the bottom of the deck, you will find these free city cards. And as they flip out, they're telling you an in-game scoring. In this case, for every 2 upgrades I have on my board here, I'll get 1 point. But there might also be for every 3 space carrots, you get a point, and so on and so on. And there are more free city cards than there are players in the game, so you never know exactly what's going to be in the deck, and you're going to play through until all of the cards that you have out, which is determined by player count, are replaced by free city cards. And that's roughly how this game works, at least the basic game. And as I said, you're going to play round and round, and at the end of the game, you're going to give everyone points based off the free cities, and they will add their points from captured or captured and destroyed Trobils, and whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. So, what do I like about this game? The first thing that I like is I adore the presentation of this game. The big round board, the wacky art, the puns, the Easter eggs, the color. It's just fun to talk about. It's fun to look at. It's fun to say. You don't know exactly how to say it, but and even the theme. I love this theme. It's just these things are so horrible. You have to catch them, but you have to catch them in the most ridiculous way. And the only way to get rid of them is you throw them into the sun. And you and I both know that what's going to happen is eventually there's going to be so many Trobils in the sun that the sun's going to explode. But I guess that's for the next game. I don't know. All that I just think is great. But what I'll say is, I think the best part about this game, and I cannot stress this enough, is that it plays better with more people. And that's not to say that it's not interesting to play at 2 players or 3 players, but playing at 6 or 7 is awesome. It's just awesome to play at a high player count. And there are so few games that I legitimately want to play at that high of a player count. Even games that I love, I don't want to do it because it just takes forever. But not this game. Because there are so few mechanics, you just zip right on through, and there's just almost no analysis paralysis going on. Even my wife, who is known to carefully consider her options intensely, even when I play with her, it's quick, and it's just really satisfying. It has this lovely mechanic of you pull back or you don't, of you're just pulling your stuff back or you're putting something out and you're getting your resources. But as you're doing that, you're trying to figure out what the other players are going to do, not because you want to block them, because you're thinking, ooh, if I get there first, they're going to have to go there and then bump me. So it might not be the resources I really want right now, but I'm going to use them later. I'm going to get another turn. It's this awesome thing that you're thinking about and trying to figure out. And I really, really find it very, very satisfying. The next thing I'll say is at least when you're just playing with the core game, there's not a lot to it. And I don't mean that as a pejorative, but there's just not a ton to it. So it's very quick and easy to teach, and it is very easy to just jump right in and get playing. And for a game, again, that you're going to potentially play with 6 or 7 players, that is so, so valuable to have a game that you can just get to the table and get started that fast. There's just so few games out there that keep me wanting to come back and play with groups that are that easy to teach and get to the table. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I like the 2 expansions also, though I am going to talk about those in my quibbles as well. I think they're fun. I just, one, just as what they are, the idea of the companions. You have this person there, they're going to give you something valuable, but they're also going to be annoying, and the longer you have them, the more annoying they're going to get, and so you're literally having to figure out, do I want to keep this annoying companion on my ship because I'm going to get some crystals here which are going to help me get Trobils, or do I want to drop them off somewhere and lose the potential bonuses? And it's so fun. I just love the idea behind it, and mechanically it really does work well. And the same thing with the Trobil makers, where you're getting these kind of robo-Trobils, which just becomes kind of a one more little mechanic. It's really easy to throw in there, but it's just one more little thing that adds just a hint of complexity to the game. Now, what are my quibbles with the game? I guess I should say Trobils with the game, right? It didn't really work. I should cut that. I'm not going to cut that because I respect you, viewer, enough to know that sometimes I try to make a joke and it just sucks. And that one didn't work. But anyhow, we're going to leave it in there. So what are my quibbles with the game? And my first one is, as I mentioned before, it's a fun game at lower player counts. It is, but it's not as fun as it is with a lot of players. And that's not to say I won't ever play it low player count, because I will. But playing it at high player count is just special. And when you have one way to play the game that I think is special, you're less interested in playing it the other way. So take that for what you will. And then the next thing that I'm going to say is, though I like these expansions, it even says in the rules for the expansions, yes, you can play with both the expansions at once, but don't do that. And that's because it slows the game down if you do that. And each one of these expansions slows the game down a little bit if you add them. If you add them both, now there's a little bit more you have to think about, and it becomes, well, slow. And so that's fine, but it's a little bit of a bummer. It's a little bit of a bummer to me, not because it's saying, well, pick one or the other. That's a lot of games that do that. Pick one module or the other module. But it looks like you should have them both out there because the way the board wraps around. In fact, it even looks like there's space for one more board. And ooh, I just want that one more module so I can get that in there, and then it'll be all the way around. But you definitely, if there's one more module ever coming, you're definitely not going to want to play with all 3 of them. So it's just a little bit not intuitive that you're not supposed to use both at once. And now, to be fair, I've not played with both of them at once because the designer literally told me, don't play with both these at once. And in fact, it's also in the rulebook. But it's a bummer to me because I kind of want to, but I know that that's not how the game is meant to be played. So there is that. So you're going to kind of have to pick and choose what you want to use. And the other part of my quibble with that I'm going to say is, I don't know how often I'm going to want to play with the expansions. And that's not because they're not interesting, because as I said, they are. I particularly like the Companions expansion. I think if I had to rank them, I like Companions and then Troublemakers after that, but I like them both. But it's such a clean and fast experience as just the core game. I don't know that you need it. There are some games out there that are like, no, you really got to get the expansion to really make this game pop. Like games that I love. I don't know that this is one of them that I think really needs the expansion. In this case, the expansion is going to be one that I'm going to put in on occasion, just kind of mix it up after I've played it a lot with people. And this is one that I hope I will play a lot with people. I especially have to call it right here that my wife really likes this game. She played it once and we played it with 4 players. We had a good time. And then at some point later on, we finished a game night early. We had time. We're trying to start to play. And she just brought out, can we play Trobils again? And I have to tell you, my wife plays a lot of games with me, and she likes some games. And some games she doesn't, and she plays because I like them. But she never says that. She's never like, ooh, can we play this one? And so that's pretty special, but she's never expressed any interest in actually playing with the expansion. She will at some point. I bet you'll like them. But my point is, you don't need them. And so I guess that's not a bad thing, and many of you might say that's a good thing because you don't have to get old stuff. But just keep in mind that unlike a lot of games, these expansions are not what I would call integral to the game. They're not just, more of the same either, but they really feel like modules that sometimes you will use and sometimes you won't. And so my last quibble that I'll say is, and again, I say this a lot in my quibbles, and I always hesitate to put it in my quibbles, and that is, it's a very simple game. It's it's just very simple. And I always bring this because I know a lot of people that do watch my channel when I'm talking, especially about Euro games. They're interested in something a little bit meatier, a little bit heavier. So I always have to toss this out there. This is a light game. This is a light Euro, and that's what it's supposed to be. You're not going to go into this looking for something, really crunchy and hard and challenging and brain burning. No, you're doing quick actions. I guess you could put both modules in there and you get something a little bit slower. But again, I don't think that's the best way to play, and the designer doesn't think that's the best way to play. So, in any event, folks, there you have it. That is Asking for Trobils. If I made any mistakes in the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp so I can get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.